Welcome to Health Diary. My name is Gladys Gachanja, and today we're coming to you from the 4 Points by Sheraton here in Hurlingham. Now, according to the World Health Organization, a lot of children in the world have not been vaccinated during this global pandemic, leaving them at risk of serious diseases like measles and polio. Now, this comes even as the world inoculates its populations against COVID-19, and a lot of misinformation has come to the fore in as far as vaccines are concerned. So, what is the role of immunization, and how can we achieve optimal coverage of these life-saving vaccines? We answer these and other questions, starting with this fact of the matter. According to the World Health Organization, global immunization coverage dropped from 86% in 2019 to 83% in 2020. An estimated 23 million children under the age of 1 year did not receive basic vaccines, which is the highest number since 2009. In 2020, the number of completely unvaccinated children increased by 3.4 million. Only 19 vaccine introductions were reported in 2020, less than half of any year in the past 2 decades. 1.6 million more girls were not fully protected against human papilloma virus HPV in 2020 compared to the previous year.
COVID-19 is there and it is real. There are several people who I know that have been infected by COVID-19. Even some of them, they have died already. Some of them, they are just friends around in this town of Nakuru. I know, I've heard about the vaccine. There are Pfizer, there are Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. So, but some of those vaccines, they are not yet here in Kenya. I've not yet vaccinated, but I believe maybe in the future I will be vaccinated. Nikiwa mzima namna hivi sijakuwa vaccinated there before, and I'm not much familiar about how vaccine can react in human bodies when a person is a grown-up, because we used to be vaccinated when we were young. I'm not afraid, because I think this now, it will be a lifestyle for the people to be vaccinated, so to avoid COVID-19 to spread. Serikali yetu itie bidii sana kupitia channels ambazo zinastahili ili vaccine ziingie Kenya kwa wingi, kwa sababu so far watu wenye wako vaccinated, I think ni watu wachache sana.
So let's shed light, or more light, on immunization, especially the coverage of the same in this country. And to help us along with this conversation, Dr. Christine Karanja-Chege, who is a lecturer and pediatric infectious diseases specialist and also board member at the Kenya Pediatric Association. Thank you for your time. We're also joined by Dr. Rudy Eggers, who is the World Health Organization representative in Kenya. Thank you for your time. And Dr. Eggers, before we underscore the importance of immunization, which the WHO is a huge driver of, let's first understand the role of vaccines.
So the role of vaccines is really to protect the individual initially. So those individuals that get vaccinated, that have the full course of vaccination, are protected against severe disease and hospitalization and against death to a great extent. Not all of them are protected, but almost all. Then as soon as you get a large group of the population vaccinated, that's about 70% of the population vaccinated or immune, and the whole disease dynamics becomes changed by the vaccination. So the initial personal protection, and then later on you'll get community protection through the vaccination.
Now, Dr. Chege, there is a science behind vaccines. How do they work to actually improve your immunity, so to speak?
A vaccine, in a simplified way, is simply the component of the actual disease-causing agent, say a bacteria or a virus, which is either weakened so that it cannot cause disease or killed by using some certain chemicals. And then once it is introduced, I won't use the word injection because we have some vaccines that are given by mouth and we have some that are injected. We even have newer technologies where some can be sprayed into the nostrils. So once the vaccine is introduced into the body, it does not cause the disease, but the body recognizes it as the disease and produces protective factors that we call antibodies. So these antibodies are generated to a large degree, such that now when in future you encounter the same disease-causing bacteria or virus, your body will remember and produce antibodies and protect you against the disease. So in order to build enough protection, sometimes you have to get more than one adequately spaced dose of a vaccine. That's why you hear that children have to go for things we call boosters.
Now, a lot of these life-saving vaccines are geared towards children. Why?
Because most of the, well, let me call them killer infectious diseases, the highest risk age group is the under 5s. That's why they are geared towards children, so that you build their immunity early enough so that when they encounter the infection, they are protected.
Now, Dr. Eggers, health experts have sounded a warning after evidence showed that immunization services have been interrupted, especially during the pandemic. Why is this a concern?
So one of the biggest concern is that as the services decline or people are hesitant to go to facilities, that they actually don't bring their children for vaccination, and that puts those children then at risk of not being protected against measles, polio and all these other diseases. The other part of it is, of course, the vaccination against COVID itself. The biggest problem is that you're trying to focus on the most at-risk people. So the health workers, the security personnel and the people above 60 years of age that have got some comorbidity. To find those people in the community is actually quite difficult. You actually need them to come on their own volition to the health facilities, and if the health facilities are not geared to receive them, you've got a problem.
And looking at our Kenyan context and going by previous trends, Dr. Shege, what risks would our children and even mothers face due to such interruptions that we're seeing today?
We saw a big interruption during the initial months of the pandemic, from April, May, but by June, July, we started seeing mothers getting confidence to return to the clinics and to take their babies to the clinics, and the immunization services resumed almost to normalcy. So that's a very good thing. That said, if you interrupt an immunization program for a sufficient period of time, you generate a cohort of unvaccinated children. And these children, over time, become unprotected from the infections, and it just takes one child to get the infection and transmit it to others. For example, measles is the most highly infectious disease known. When you start seeing measles outbreaks, as we had started seeing, then you know that an immunization program has been interrupted and children are put at risk of these very dangerous diseases that are almost being eradicated, but now we go back and start the journey all over again.
Perhaps it would be important to list these critical life-saving vaccines, especially those that are listed under KEPI, the Kenya Expanded Program on Immunization Schedule.
So we have vaccination against tuberculosis, that is the BCG, that is given at birth. We have combined vaccinations. There is a vaccine we call pentavalent. Penta means 5. So this one protects against diphtheria, and it also protects against whooping cough, that is pertussis, tetanus, and in the vaccine is also hepatitis B. And one component that is not known to many people in that vaccine is something we call Hib, or H influenza, because it was a common cause of pneumonia, meningitis, and something we call sepsis, which is in layman terms blood infection. And recently, in the start of the millennium, or in the mid of the millennium, pneumonia vaccine was introduced. That is the pneumococcal vaccine, and that's why we've seen a decline in the cases of pneumonia that were killing children. We also have rotavirus, and it's one of the success stories in that children no longer die en masse from diarrheal disease. Polio is there. Measles is there, as I had mentioned. We have other vaccines that are not routine but are targeted to specific areas. For example, yellow fever in the yellow fever prone areas, and recently there is the malaria vaccine.
Okay, so there are factors even before the pandemic that were interrupters to immunization coverage. Top on that list is public mistrust. How can this be tackled to ensure that there is uptake of vaccines?
Well, the main way to tackle that is really to inform the public. So we need to make sure that the correct information goes out, and those controversies that are spread through social media or through other media are countered. And this is where you as the media play a very, very important role. The other part of it is really that if there are cases where there are adverse events following immunization or side effects, that they get investigated properly. Is there an error in the program? Was there a mistake made? Or was it just a reaction, an allergic reaction or something like that, that caused this?
When we referred, like, for example, the HPV vaccine that was introduced to inoculate girls as young as 10, how now do you go around these elements of society but still ensure that we have sufficient uptake of vaccines?
First, equip the healthcare workers with the right information so that they can be able to proactively give this information to the clients. Tell them what the vaccine is supposed to do, that it's supposed to protect girls when they become women from cervical cancer. Then now we all come to the table, have a dialogue. Dialogue is very, very important. And then give the right information to the society leaders, because those are the, once you have the society leaders on board, then the rest is easy, because they're the ones who will trickle down the information. And then as healthcare practitioners, we should not be afraid of social media, or we should not be afraid of the media at all. We should look for opportunities like this one that you have presented to us to come and share the right information, because if we don't, then there are very many loud voices giving the wrong information out there.
Very well said. We take a short break at this point. When we come back, there are other interrupters to immunization coverage, one of them being limited availability and accessibility of these vaccines we speak about. We'll be right back.
Enjoy the best family entertainment on StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet.
Oh, yes.
Subscribe to Classic Bouquet for only $899 for 30 days or Smart Bouquet for only $999 for 30 days. Come on eBay. Ni StarTimes.
At the first sign of pain, you need a solution that you can trust to provide effective relief and is gentle on the stomach. Try Panadol Advance for relief from headaches, body aches, and fever. With Panadol's Optizorb formula, the tablet gently breaks down in the stomach, quickly absorbs, and starts providing pain relief in 15 minutes. For fast and effective pain relief that you can trust, try Panadol Advance. This has been Medifax for Panadol.
Today tastes like a Sunday barbecue. And it never tasted this good.
Wonderful, your baby's quite active. After I discovered Molfix, I rediscovered my baby. She's jumping and running around.
Well, we call that the Molfix Comfort. Thanks to its elastic side bands, Molfix provides freedom of movement for your baby. All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
For an exclusive fragrance experience, try Nivea Men Deep Impact Body Lotion with a long-lasting woody fragrance, deep moisture, and a fresh skin feel. Make an impact with Nivea Men Deep Impact. Nivea Men, it starts with you.
This is NTV.
Yajayo katika NTV Weekendi.
Hiyo NASA kazi yake ilikwisha, lakini huko mbele tutakuja pamoja.
Raila adokeza uwezekano wa kujiunga na One Kenya Alliance, huku Jubilee ikipanga fagia chamani wiki ijayo.
Shughulikia mambo ya insecurity, kama ni kudizam community zote.
Wakazi katika mpaka wa Pokot, Baringo na Elgeyo Marakwet wanalilia kuhangaishwa na wezi wa mifugo. Suluhu ni kupeleka polisi maalum.
Kitu gani hii?
Hii ni microphone. Inaitwa microphone.
Kutana na Elizabeth Jerop, ajuza wa miaka 111 ambaye anakupa siri ya kuwa na umri mrefu na afya njema.
Haki ya serikali ilifanyike. Wafanye kiona uchunguzi wao, wakimaliza haki tu itendeke.
Na familia kadhaa mjini Mombasa zalilia haki baada ya wana wao kutoweka katika mazingira ya kutatanisha. Inadaiwa polisi wamehusika.
Why do we do it? Hide, cover up, tone down? Choose boldness. Celebrate the skin you're in and dress with confidence with Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Body Lotion. The triple-layered care of deep moisture serum, precious cocoa butter and vitamin E enriches your skin for 48 hours. It's time to show off your best skin. Wear your skin with pride every time with Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Body Lotion.
I'm a teacher by training. I'm an associate professor, so I emphasize a lot in giving knowledge. So I started using exuviance in 1998 when I was still doing my research and teaching at the universities in Denmark. But when I was trying to get a permanent tenure, I got frustrated at the university. They didn't give me the tenure. I decided to leave university and move into something else. I decided that actually the brand that I had used for so many years, which I believed in, should be the thing I should actually bring to Kenya. Instead of me coming back to Kenya, I was staying in Denmark looking for other jobs. In the beginning, when I made the conclusion that I want to get into exuviance, what I did was to contact Neostrata. And then, of course, they didn't accept. I sent them an email, they didn't reply. I sent them another email, they didn't reply. So what I did was actually to contact my friends in Copenhagen who are distributors of exuviance. And I told them, hey guys, I'm trying to get to the Neostrata because I want to apply for, the distribution of exuviance in Kenya. So I sent Catherine an email, and within a second, I got an answer back. And what she told me was like, we don't deal with individuals. We deal with companies, and you don't have a company. I knew that I was going to move to Kenya. I've been away for 23 years. I didn't know anyone. I did absolutely no one. Where nobody knows the brand. They don't know what is exuviance. I believed in my project, and I believed in the brand. And your imagination is the Kenya you left 23 years ago. But actually, when you come, everything has changed. People have changed. The mentality has changed. So it was tough. And I came from a place of where money was not an issue. But then suddenly, I have to think about basic things in life. So I lost everything. So what happened? I went to ABSA. They were willing to give me a loan without any collateral. I'm actually very happy that they are thinking and considering women, and they want to support us as women, and they want to see women succeed and prosper. If you want something so bad, you get it in the end.
What are you playing at, you idiot? You're a new international striker! Ah! 5-0 down, it's only halftime!
No, coach, it's not me. Something's missing.
Yes, I know that. There's no talent, commitment, skill!
No, that's wrong. It's the formation. We need more on the outside. Where's number 7 or number 11? We're lacking in the flanks.
Speak English!
Coach, we need wingers.
Before the second half, we all drink a Red Bull.
Why's that?
Red Bull gives you wings!
Wonderful, your baby's quite active. After I discovered Molfix, I rediscovered my baby. First I thought my baby didn't like to move, but now she's jumping and running around.
Well, we call that the Molfix Comfort. Thanks to its elastic side bands, Molfix provides freedom of movement for your baby.
Yes, my baby moves easily now.
Oh babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
Welcome back. My name is Gladys Gachanja, and today we are talking about the role of immunization and how we can actually up the uptake of the same in this country. And still with us, Dr. Chege and of course Dr. Eggers. And Dr. Eggers, we have said the best deterrent to misinformation is communication. How have you seen this work in other contexts? Because public mistrust is not only a preserve of the African continent.
No, clearly, this is a global matter, as we are seeing now with the COVID outbreak. In WHO, we've got a very clear process to actually deal with what we call vaccine hesitancy. There are some people that are just concerned about certain issues, and we need to just explain those. There are other people that are just totally against vaccines, and in that case, it is really making sure that there's no misinformation spread, but really that the correct information, the scientific information is actually brought to the fore.
Still on misinformation, this majorly ties to booster vaccines, as you'd mentioned earlier, Dr. Chege, where parents see, you know, the polio vaccination happening over and over again, and they start becoming suspicious. Why are boosters important, and when do they apply?
I want to differentiate between boosters and mass campaigns. First, where the vaccines given in the first year of life are called primary series. Primary because they prime. To prime is like to prepare the immune system so that when you come with the next round of the vaccines, they produce more antibodies. So boosters boost the immune response. So for example, in measles, we give measles at 9 months. But to get a good response, you have to come back at 18 months and give the second dose of measles. So 2 doses of measles vaccine will give adequate response. Now, when we come now to the polio and measles rubella mass campaigns. So why so many polio rounds? One is because we have polio that is called wild type polio, meaning the polio that is not coming from the vaccine. It's the natural polio. That one has been eradicated from Kenya. But because of our low immunization rates, we have circulating forms of the vaccine type of polio. If you give somebody a vaccine, sometimes it can undergo some changes and revert back to polio and circulate in the environment, putting children at risk. You know, people fear that if I get so many vaccines, they will harm me. They won't. They will it's just like if you get so many colds, it just builds your immunity to those colds. If you get so many vaccines, you just boost your protection.
All right, very important. Now, limited availability and accessibility of life-saving vaccines has also been a major factor in immunization coverage. Dr. Eggers, what is the impact of the same from where you sit at the WHO?
For the childhood vaccination, in general terms, there is enough vaccine. It is being provided through the Kenyan government, sometimes through donations, such as the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization. Especially the newer vaccines have got some donations behind it. But in general terms, those vaccines actually follow a very regular supply chain and are delivered in time. Occasionally you find that vaccines expire, so they are not used in time, and that means that you have to get newer vaccines into the system. For COVID vaccine, of course, we've got a different problem because world over there is not enough vaccine, and specifically in Africa we know that the vaccine supply to African countries has been limited. So the COVAX facility that WHO is supporting together with other partners is intended to address that inequity of vaccination.
Dr. Chege, do we have a challenge when it comes to the vaccines that are geared towards children?
One major challenge is if the facility that is supposed to vaccinate the child does not have good planning, so you don't order enough vaccines, and so when the mothers come for vaccination, they're told this vaccine is out of stock, And you know, for somebody to go for vaccination, there's a lot of time, money, because you have to stop what you're doing to take your child for vaccination, only to be told to come back. Or the same nurse who is supposed to be vaccinating is the same nurse who is supposed to be going to pick the vaccines from the stores. So that there's a long queue. So there are lots of access issues. Again, also, with the devolution, some of them, counties have not prioritized immunization. So we find that not all the vaccines are funded by Gavi. Some vaccines and supplies have to be purchased. So if people do not plan for that, then we have stockouts. You can find you have the vaccine, but you don't have the syringes. So you cannot administer the vaccine. Or you ordered too much vaccine, it expired.
All right, now going by the COVID-19 vaccines, financing is a great enabler to achieving optimum immunization coverage. How can this be replicated to ensure that these other life-saving vaccines are availed as needed?
That's a difficult question. So until the production of these vaccines is to the level that is required, irrespective if there's financing or not, there will be a problem. The way to move forward in the African context is, I think, that we look at the local production. So local production here in Kenya is being talked about, but across the continent, South Africa and other countries are also looking at that. And this is, of course, not important only for the COVID vaccines, but really for the future of vaccination and, in fact, all therapeutics. If you think about antimalarials or ARV treatment for HIV, all of that potentially could be produced in Africa and would make that supply more assured.
Okay, now poverty, lack of proper nutrition, access to health facilities. As you were mentioning earlier, some other factors that stagnate immunization coverage. What is the impact of the same from your experience, Dr. Chege, and how would these devolved units, as you mentioned, help along the process?
One of the things that poverty does is make people reallocate resources. And the things that get bumped out are things like immunization. Because you see, when you're taking a child to be immunized, they are not unwell. So you have to weigh, do I go and look for work, or do I take this jumping baby for a shot? And then again, issues to do with the nutrition. Malnutrition also comes with immunosuppression, where your immunity is not good. So even uptake to vaccination is poor. So you find you'll vaccinate a child, but they will still catch pneumonia, they'll still catch TB, and they end up spending so much time in the wards. And so resources tend to be directed away from the preventive and promotive services towards curative services.
Okay, and a lot of these vaccine-preventable diseases, which are highly infectious, as you mentioned, especially polio, we've seen door-to-door campaigns. Perhaps would this apply to other vaccinations going forward, especially in the pandemic era?
I wouldn't really encourage that route of door-to-door vaccinating, but more of door-to-door mobilization, because we have a team of community health workers, or community health volunteers, as they are called, who are an arm in what we call primary health care. Primary health care is basic health care. So as they go doing their other services, which mainly are promotive and prevention, they can also encourage mothers to take their children to the clinics so that they can get their immunizations there. But every once in a while, there are organized mass vaccination campaigns to catch up. But we should not really, those are not a sign of success. Mass vaccination campaigns are not, because they are not being done in the high-income countries, because their routine immunization is the backbone of protecting the children.
I think the other part of it is the realization that, in fact, immunization represents a protection against disease, and that is an investment in the child. Like education is an investment in the child, that actually lets the child flourish. It makes sure that they don't get measles, which can, again, cause developmental problems and those kind of things. So from other countries, we can see that really the community is a major player. The media is a major player to actually bring people to realize the need for the vaccination. Local leadership, so the religious, the civil leadership, if they are positive and engaging in the immunization program and health services, that makes a big difference.
So even as we bring this conversation to a close, Africa was declared free of the last remaining strain of wild poliovirus, and this was thanks to vaccination. So what can we borrow from this success story into the pandemic era, Dr. Chege?
Actually, the main aim of a vaccination program is to eradicate the disease. For example, smallpox. Most of us, I have never seen a case of smallpox except in pictures, because smallpox was eradicated in 1979, and so resources were moved towards other things. Same case with measles, rubella. That is usually the end game of a vaccination program, to eradicate the diseases and allocate resources to other things. So we must take key learning points from how expanded program on immunization has eradicated certain, including neonatal tetanus. Yeah, we got a certificate in 2019. Yeah, so there are many success stories that people don't hear about.
Vaccination truly is the one tool that we have that really makes a huge difference. But in many of the other diseases, of course, setting up the systems to actually find the people that have got tuberculosis or malaria or HIV or these other diseases, and then treat them appropriately. So for instance, in HIV, we've got a problem that there are many people that are not aware that they're HIV positive. So we need to make sure that there is ability to test and that people become aware of their status, and then to treat them appropriately and for the required treatment time.
Thank you, Dr. Rudy Eggers, who is the WHO representative in Kenya, and of course, Dr. Christine Karanja Chege, who is not only a lecturer, but also a pediatric infectious diseases specialist. Thank you for your time and, of course, underscoring the importance of vaccination and immunization. Time now for a health tip.
The problem with computer work is that the way God made us, when you're concentrating on something, you don't blink often. Blinking is life to the eye because it wets the eye, it washes away all the dirt. So if you don't blink often, your eyes dry out. We are now on computers or on screens or on our phones for too long on continuous periods. So the trick about all this is take breaks. You know, generally people will say, work for 30 minutes and take a break. And don't take a break, then you go to WhatsApp, you know, catch up on WhatsApp. No, close your eyes or go out and take a walk and count butterflies and trees and just look at distance. Don't look at something near.
The impact of immunization has been underscored in this episode of Health Diary, and we will continue to shed light on these life-saving vaccines. Well, it has been Health Diary. My name is Gladys Gachanja, coming to you from the 4 Points by Sheraton here in Hallingham. Until next time, see you. Something before you leave? Yeah, you have to run to the clinic. I know you have a full day too. So, what are... Jesus. Yeah, all right.
So that's the one part of it. The other part of it is, of course, vaccination.
Do you need me really? Sweeter?